Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on, guys? Sergeant Moose here, back with another Evil Dead the Game video. And today, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about the Butcher build within the Splatter Royale. Alright, guys, so when we think of the meta classes in the Splatter Royale, we think of the Marksman or the Assassin. That's usually the two classes that most players go with. Of course, the Marksman speaks for itself. The Assassin's more of a stealthy executioner type class, kind of creep up behind him, take them out that way. But for me, my playstyle seems to fit a little more of the Butcher class. And essentially what it is a somewhat high melee damage class, but also a high tanky class. It's kind of a hybrid between the two. And it seems to work out good for me. We've gotten a ton of wins with it, guys. And I wanted to wait to make sure it worked properly for me the way I wanted before I shared this video. And I am 100% confident if you use this build and you use it correctly, you will win some of these Splatter Royales, if not a lot of them. So, without further ado, guys, let's jump into it, man. So let's go ahead, we're going to take a look right off the bat. Now, of course, we know as we build our skill tree in the Splatter Royale, we have to sacrifice something to improve something else. So, as you guys can see here, essentially what we're going to be sacrificing most in this build is ranged damage, because one thing we do want to have with this build, we want to have dodges. We want to have a little bit of stamina, because in them 1v1 fights, especially if you're fighting against another Butcher who's also going to be tanky, you're going to want to use a few of them dodges at your disposal. And they already don't have a lot of stamina, so you want to be able to dodge as much as you can in them fights, which is usually 1 or 2 times, depending on how much stamina you have, but that dodge can lead you to a victory. So, we want to make sure we conserve as much as that as we can. So, if you see right here, guys, we have 5 out of 5 on the melee damage, but reduces range damage. So, we're losing a 1% range damage to gain a 1% melee damage. Now here we're going to bridge on over. As you can see here, we only went 1 here because stamina regeneration is huge. We want to keep that. Coming over here, we only went 1 again because stamina cost of dodging. We definitely want to keep that. We don't want to take anything away from dodging if we can help it. So, coming over to the next one, we also went 1 of 5 because stamina cost of sprinting. We want to conserve our stamina. We want to conserve our dodges. We want to use this to bridge all the way over here. Increases melee damage, but reduces maximum stamina, so we only went 1 there. And over here, finally, we get to the 5 of 5 of increases melee damage. Nothing to sacrifice here, we just get a 1% flat extra melee damage. Alright guys, coming down here, so we have the Butcher Heavy Hitter. Now, we are going to be using a lot of heavy attacks with this build, but of course, we don't want to spec into this one because stamina regen speed, but we will come over here, we'll go 5 out of 5 here because it reduces our range damage. Again, we're only going to be firing ranged weapons with this build when we absolutely need to, if we're in a jam. Things like that. This build is heavily melee focused. So we can go ahead and we can get rid of some of that range damage. It's only a 1% loss for a 2.5% heavy attack. Now, we come on down here. The last word combos are going to be huge with this build, guys. The last hit of that combo is what is usually going to kill the teammate you're fighting, if you don't kill them before that. If you make it to the last hit of the combo, chances are they're going to go down or they're going to be very, very low. So, coming over here, final hit damage, and we got a 2.5% here, reduces headshot damage. And over here, we also have another 2.5% damage, but a negative 10 max ammo capacity, which is definitely not a big deal for this build. So, really nothing sacrificed there for a 5% extra combo damage, which is pretty big. Coming on over here, guys, we have slow weapons have faster attack speed and do increased health, balance bar, and dismemberment damage. Now, we did have this maxed out previously, but I decided to take this off because I realized in this mode, yes, slow weapons are very, very powerful, of course, but in this mode, you want to use those fast one-handed weapons with the Butcher, man. The weapons that you're afraid to get possessed with in the asymmetrical mode are the weapons you want to use in this mode. And I'm talking about machete, I'm talking about cleaver, I'm talking about the hand axe, the spear, the staff, all the fast weapons. I usually go with the one-handers, but the exception for the two-handers are the spear and the staff. all of those weapons are pretty much what I use to win the games that I win. So, we only spec'd in one here. We just did that to bridge over here. 5 out of 5 on the heavy attack damage. Because yes, we're going to be working with the fast weapons, the one-handed weapons. But we're also going to be using a lot of heavy attacks. Of course, heavy attacks equal more damage. And that's why we come over here and spec into this. Melee weapons have a faster attack speed and deal increased health, balance bar, and dismemberment. They have a 5% attack speed extra, plus another 5% damage, and that's also significant because when you're using those heavy attacks, you're going to have a little bit more speed with them, especially if you're using one-handed weapons, so it's still going to be pretty fast. But I do say this, don't use heavy attacks as much as humanly possible. You only want to use them when you know you're going to be able to land them and you're not super low health, because you can die in the midst of the animation of using the heavy attacks. So, it's kind of situational. You have to use your own judgment, but you want to get them heavy attacks in. You just want to be careful about it. But this is pretty much the melee setup, guys, for the Butcher class that's going to, it's pretty good, man. I like it. So, coming down here, obviously, then we're getting to the tanky side of the build. So we're going to go 5% maximum health here, 2.5% reduced range damage. We're going to bridge all the way over here because you guys see we'd be losing melee damage, we'd be losing light attack damage, we'd be losing heavy attack damage. We don't want to lose any of that stuff. We don't want to lose damage, and we don't want to lose dodges. So we want to come over here, bridge all the way over here to get an extra 5% flat maximum health. So we get an extra 10% maximum health, plus these 3 all add up to 13% extra maximum health. And then we come down here, reduces damage taken, but reduces melee damage. Obviously, we don't want to spec too much into that. Now, we went 4 out of 5 here on this one because we're fine with reducing range damage, you know, because we're not going to be using our guns as much as possible unless we absolutely have to. And we did that to get over here, so we get another 2.5 flat damage reduction. So, 2 and 2.5, 4.5, plus this, we get a 5% damage reduction. On top of the health, so, we're going in tanky, we're going in good melee. This build works, guys. Now, it's more about just building the build, but how exactly do you play the build? So, typically, if any of you guys have watched my streams, you kind of see how I play. Sneak is key, man. Sneaking is the key with this build. Now, you don't have to be overly sneaky. That's the thing. This is the difference between the assassin and the butcher. You can move around a little bit. You can take some hits, especially if you have some shields on. You can take some hits, for sure. But you want to be kind of careful. Know when to go in, make your move, and if you have to 1v1 them fights, again, your dodges are huge. If you can get close enough to another player who is not a butcher, without you taking much damage, chances are you're going to get that kill on them, no matter what. As long as you're hitting them right and you're dodging correctly, you're going to get that hit on them. So, typically what I'll do, guys, is if I'm engaging with a marksman, of course you don't really know, but if you think they are, you're engaging with them, dodge straight into them. Anticipate their shots with their guns, dodge into them, dodge their shots, and start wailing on them. Again, this build is heavily focused on one-handed weapons, ladies and gentlemen, especially if you can get a good blue or a purple at least. Anything one-handed that you can get purple, and I do say, as far as one-handed goes, one-handed fast weapons, not the mace. The mace is absolute garbage in this mode. It's kind of garbage in the ASIM mode too because of the tracking, but it is especially garbage in this mode. I've tried it, and I've lost simply because of the tracking just missing the enemy. Also, the chainsaw. The chainsaw is a little bit better than the mace, but you got to watch the tracking on that too because sometimes it'll just randomly miss as well. So I don't recommend those two weapons over, say, the knife or the cleaver or the hand axe or the machete. I don't recommend those two over that. But the chainsaw can work if you get a high rarity on it. So keep that in mind. But yes. So essentially, in a nutshell, guys, this is the build, man. This is the butcher build, and I assure you, I assure you it works. So, with that said, guys, let me know what you think of this video. This is the Butcher build. If you try it out, let me know how it works for you. I assure you it works. We'll probably be working on an assassin build next, but having so much fun with this one, man. As long as I keep winning with it, I'm going to keep playing with it. So, with that said, guys, my name's Sergeant Moose. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for all things Evil Dead, the game. Always doing it here on the channel. I'll see you guys on the next video, man. Stick around and rock on.